Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to this week's episode of the Montpelier Happy Hour here on WVEW LP Brattleboro. I'm your host and producer, Olga Peters, and this is where we talk about how everything in Montpelier shakes out for the rest of us. And hey, Randy Holhut, news editor for The Commons. How are you feeling the day after Thanksgiving? Did you have a good meal?
I had a good meal, not too much of it. Tried to keep it in control, so it wasn't in a turkey coma afterwards. But then we had it late for supper rather than for lunch.
Oh, that was smart. That was smart. Well, I
Well,
hope everyone out there in who's listening had a good holiday with the people you care about, or had the holiday you wanted to have. We'll put it that way. I am still with friends, visiting with friends, so you may hear some noise in the background, or you may see a little gray kitty dart through the screen. So yes, you've been warned.
nothing wrong with kitties.
We love kitties on the Montpelier Happy Hour, and dogs. Dogs are okay too. Um, so Randy, you know where I would like to start
Yes.
is when I'm out and about. The main question I have been hearing the most from folks is how is the Commons doing, and how is the joining with Deerfield Valley News over in the Deerfield Valley, Wilmington, and Dover, Whitingham area. How is that going?
Okay. Well, I might as well issue the disclaimer right now that the views expressed now are my opinions and don't necessarily reflect Vermont Independent Media. But
Well done.
coming from my point of view, we were doing okay. I mean, it was a big step taking on getting the Deerfield Valley News. It was I was really not enthused about the prospect because I just thought, we're we're having it's hard enough to run our paper. Do we need another to worry about? But the Capitanes, Randy and Vicky, wanted to retire and didn't want the paper to get into the clutches of other folks who shall not be named in this broadcast.
Hmm.
And really, the market for weekly newspapers is not very good in this media climate. So they wanted to leave, but they also wanted to make sure the paper continued.
Hmm.
So they approached us in the fall of 2024. They actually started with Jeff Potter,
Hmm.
our editor in chief, and said, would the Commons be interested in buying the paper? And then the idea came up, and I just thought, I
I
don't know about
remember at the time you were kind of like, I don't know about this.
no, and it still it took a lot of doing, but the main thing that finally convinced me that was possible was the fact that since this was an asset sale, the only thing that the Capitanis were selling to Vermont Independent Media was um, the paper itself.
Hmm.
So with the stroke of a pen, they would become a nonprofit too. And
Uh,
so as of the when the purchase took place, right around in August, the end of August, the paper became a nonprofit. But it's at the same time, they're still trying to figure out what that means over there in Wilmington. And the papers are two really distinct newspapers, and the regions are two really distinct.
they are. Yeah.
And we're discovering that advertisers in Brattleboro are very interested in advertising in the Deerfield Valley News,
Oh, no kidding.
but it doesn't work the other way.
Huh.
And that's because, as you know from all your years of living in the Southeast Kingdom, it's Brattleboro to Wilmington is a lot further away than Wilmington to Brattleboro.
Yes.
Going downhill, it's fine, and people are used to going downhill. I mean, as a Whitingham girl, you know, you can go to North Adams, you can go to Greenfield, you can go to Pennington, you can go to Brattleboro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. You're kind of, even though it takes you 45 minutes to get to all of them,
Yes,
you
you
are
have
kind of centrally located in a very odd way.
well, nowhere but centrally located. And as for sharing of resources, we're still working toward that because we discovered when we got the paper that the way we do things and the way they do things are very different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're using software from the 90s in some cases.
Oh, wow.
And
Ouch.
you know, Jeff has done many things, the some of the most amazing things he's done is create a content management software system where where he wrote the code for it.
Mm-hmm.
He and created something where I we can write stories, put them into the system, automatically upload them to InDesign, which is the page layout program we use, and with a hit push of a button, also create the code to put it on the website.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is that we can do it anywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
since the pandemic, with the pandemic, and since I spend, you know, split my time now, you know, half in the office and half at home doing the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's easy to do, and the folks in the Deerfield Valley News still think they're in those Norman Rockwell paintings of the country editor, and you know the newspapers of, you know, people coming in to drop off their ads or gossip about what's going on in town.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of being able to work remotely and the fact that we can put out a commons from anywhere in the world as long as we have internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, the pandemic really was a trial by fire on that one, but
but
we
we were
did
re
it.
but we were ready for it because we had that system in place. So it was rather seamless for us
Mm-hmm.
to do that you were able to and you know, for you in Whitingham, you didn't have to go into town all the time.
Yeah. Which is in the wintertime is very nice because downhill is fine, but it's often quite icy.
Well, there's a reason why there are crosses in the whole length of Route 9
Oh,
along the
gosh,
side of the road.
that's a wild road.
And all
It is
the,
such a wild road.
yes, even with the improvements they made, all the improvements they made back 10 years ago just made everyone go faster.
Good point. Yes. So it sounds like there's still some growing pains happening. Is there, have the organizations reached a point yet where they're starting to saying, okay, phase two, what's ahead? What's next?
The action plan that you're famous for.
I know. They tease me about this in the office all the time in the newsroom, but yes, I'm the action plan girl and the backup girl. Like, okay, if you and Jeff get hit by a truck, what are we going to do? They actually have not answered that question yet. So you have
Well,
to watch yourself in traffic.
the hope of that, I wear bright colors too at this time of year. The hope was that having the two papers, we could cover for each other.
Hmm.
But first, we'd have to have the papers working on the same with the same software and workflow, and
Right.
there's been a bit of resistance over there. But there has been some content sharing of certain stories, and trying to meld us into one paper, one organization that happens to put out two newspapers.
Hmm.
We're not trying to make the Deerfield Valley News into the commons,
No, no.
and because and that was the big fear of, you know, at least of the little bit of talking I've done with people on that side of the hill,
Hmm.
that, you know, they were kind of wondering about that. And got to the paper has to be their paper and feel like it's their paper. We know Wilmington is not Brattleboro.
Yeah.
Conversely, Brattleboro is definitely not Wilmington
Hmm.
or Dover.
Or Dover, or Wardsboro, or Whitingham, or Halifax, or
No, I mean, the thing about the west end of Windham County is it's always kind of has some of the most money over there, and also some of the worst poverty
Hmm.
of the county.
Yeah.
And in the dichotomy of that, of a really heavily tourist dependent economy.
Oh, yes. Yeah. For radio listeners, I am nodding very much
Yes,
so.
yes. Well, you've lived it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Right.
have, if listeners don't know this, my stepfather used to own an inn and restaurant in Wilmington on Main Street. And so I really got to see growing up the what's positive about a tourist economy and also what's very negative about it. And I don't think I want to be very clear, especially because it's such a big thing in Vermont. Our tourist industry. It's not tourism that worries me. It's a tourism dependent economy that worries me.
Well, like the way downtown Brattleboro has become completely tourist oriented, it's downtown,
Hmm.
and that it's almost everything seems to run on a Thursday to Sunday schedule now.
Oh, really? Okay.
That that's the focus of the retail. That's the focus of the events. They're all jumping up and down about the miniature Brattleboro.
Oh, I saw that. Yes,
I mean, you probably remember when Brattleboro was hailed as the best small arts town in America.
I
I guess they
do.
wanted to take the next step and make small art.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm making fun of miniature Brattleboro, but then but I made fun of the trolling of heifers. I thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Marching cows down Main Street. And little did I know. And Joyce is laughing over on the other side of the living room too during that because she had her sources from Deep Buttercup. She called one about the parade, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. At least the
It
first
did.
few editions of it well before it became a tourist attraction.
Yeah,
But
before
the
it tipped the balance.
Yeah, but the first one, coming when it did in right after 9/11, the first big parade in Brattleboro,
Hmm.
and it was just it was fun,
Yeah.
and it kind of lost that fun part after a while.
Hmm.
And I'm sure,
Yeah.
that with miniature Brattleboro, there'll be a lot of fun about that too. I mean, all the storefronts have got their little displays now, and it's but still just seems, come on,
You'd like to see
doll
something else.
dollhouse dollhouses. Well, I guess if it gets people in the Brattleboro and gets them tourists to part with their money and support all the downtown businesses, it's all good. Even if I think it's kind of dumb. But that's once again, that's the opinions of Randolph T. Holhut, and not necessarily the opinions of Vermont Independent Media and the Commons.
Why, thank you.
I'm the
Um,
cranky old editor.
yeah, we used to call Jeff and Randy in the newsroom. Jeff was Kumbaya and Randy was Damn It. So it'd be conversations with Kumbaya and Damn It. If you ever want to start a podcast with Jeff, there you go. That's the title.
But
So,
the but so the transition's happening, and I have to say, thanks to the donation we got for the purchase of the paper, which was a very big deal.
mhm,
That's we've been able to keep a paper independent and nonprofit, and so the community has more of a stake in it.
mhm.
And it in the long run it could have benefits, but in the short run it's been really bumpy and painful. But as all kind of transitions go like that, but um, it's nice to see that nonprofit journalism is getting a lot more attention. This past week, there was the news that the Commons received a $10,000 grant from the local civic journalism initiative that's being put together by the Vermont Community Foundation and the Secretary of State's office.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Copeland Hans's, I guess I got that right.
Yes, you did.
Has been a big proponent of supporting local journalism,
Yeah.
as part of her whole uh, philosophy of civic engagement, of
Yeah,
giving
and strengthening residents' civic skills and civic knowledge. Yeah.
and connections to their community,
Mm-hmm.
and a good local media ecosystem really makes a difference in that. And the a, a group that formed recently called the Vermont Journalism Coalition. It's a group. It's kind of like the old Vermont. Well, the Vermont Press Association still exists, although, yeah, hasn't done an awful lot. But but think it's kind of that organization, only expanding it to also to other media. So um, the television stations in Vermont are involved in it, and as well as radio stations, and both nonprofit and for profit. But all recognizing that we're kind of in this together, and that supporting local media helps make for better communities.
Yeah.
So that's what's a nice achievement. We were talking before we started recording here about our annual appeal, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been going well, and it's been going well for the last few years, because I'm really gratified by how many people out there really love the paper, really depend on the paper, and are willing to show that love, and pay money for their free newspaper. It still amazes me, after 15 years of being there, that it's still happening, that people still love us. They still appreciate what we can do and don't get too down on us from what we can't do,
Mm-hmm.
because we're still woefully understaffed. We could use more people and more resources to do a better newspaper. We put out a we put out a good paper considering what we have, but we could do so much more if we had the wherewithal to do that more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, getting some more correspondence working for us.
Yeah.
And this would be a good opportunity for anyone within the sound of my voice. The Commons and Deerfield Valley News wants you.
Well, since you're pitching positions, why don't you quickly tell people what a correspondent would be, what they would do, what their responsibilities would be if they were one?
Well, we're looking for just people write stories about the town, the places they live in, to follow the town boards, the select board, and their region, their school boards, to uh, tell us about people and things that we might not know about that are interesting. And we've had lots of people pass through the Commons like that. That's how our host here, Olga, started almost 20 years ago.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
well, 18
Yes.
years ago.
Oh my gosh, my journalism career can vote. It's old
Yes.
enough to vote.
Well, that's how much time has passed. And if you're like me, you can't account for any of the last 18 years at the Commons. That's just been a total blur. And
Mm-hmm.
you think working for a weekly newspaper, you'd slow down some. No, no, no. That's
Mm-mm.
still, and especially if I kind of do what it would take, wear so many different hats. I need a, coat rack and a hat rack to take care of everything.
I know it's why I always stumble on your title when I'm introducing you on the show, because news editor just isn't really what you do.
Well, I think
You
it's
do
the
so
most,
much more.
well, I think it's the most important thing to do, since, I'm kind of the first point of contact on stories.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that flows in through email is, or the phone comes to me first.
Mm-hmm.
And and watching over the milestones page and the arts section and the local briefs and when I want to escape from all of it, writing the sports page.
Yeah, which we should actually mention before the show ends today. Bringing it back to correspondences really quickly. So, if you're a person who in, enjoys, or it's really important to you to like sit in and watch your local school board or your local select board or planning commission or whatever it is, if that's something that you enjoy doing, we can show you the rest. Like
Yes,
if you are able to sit through a meeting and parse it out, the positives, the negatives, the nut of the issue that people are talking about, we can teach you the rest. So should I give them your email to reach out to?
well, you can reach out to Randy at commonsnews.org or Jeff Potter, who also will be would be doing that at Jeff at commonsnews.org. And
Mm-hmm.
it's you all it, what you really need is just curiosity and an interest in what's going on around you. Because I mean, you came into the commons from filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. I did.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't documentary filmmaking either.
No, it wasn't. It was full on scripted fiction, fiction
But
filmmaking,
but
feature
the tool
filmmaking.
but the tools of storytelling informed your reporting. That's what made you so good at what you did
Thank you.
and continue to do. And that's it. Our correspondents have come from all different backgrounds and experiences, and that's what helps make the paper good is the diversity of experiences and talents, and they flow together and make us the paper that everyone likes to read.
Yeah,
Are we the complete paper we hope to be? No, not yet.
but
But
we're working on
well, it's just if you can't be comprehensive, be interesting, and
it.
that's and look good doing it too. And Jeff's work in designing the newspaper is tremendous. It looks like
Yeah,
nothing else out there.
very true. So, just in the interest of time,
Hmm.
I want to switch gears
Okay.
and talk quickly about because you mentioned you take a break from time to time and cover the local sports scene. Um, and I thought it was very cool that when I looked at the sports page for this week's Commons,
Yes.
um, the headline was several local players earn all-state soccer honors. I thought that was great. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, in between, after the seasons get wrapped up, the various folks who like this Southern Vermont League coaches get together and say, who are the outstanding players. So it's a chance to get to recognize them. And of course, the teams that did well this season, like Twin Valley and boys soccer and Bellows Falls and field hockey and football tend to get a lot of the nominations, but also the outstanding players on the teams that didn't win any titles or get very far in the playoffs. The Brattleboro girls soccer team was really played well. That was one of the teams that I was enjoyed watching because they played well as a team, and even though they had some phenomenal individual players, the stars didn't get in the way of the other players.
Mm-hmm.
They all helped each other, and that's every year, every season. I love watching the teams come together, and the kids learn what it takes to work together and
Mm-hmm.
work toward a common goal that's bigger than themselves. And that's the whole point of this. It's another stage of the education process at the schools. And
Yeah.
also, and also, it's the one thing that school that for education. That's the shop window. That's what's in it's the thing that everyone sees and everyone gets excited about. I mean, there's no crowds in the English class watching watching
No,
this.
this is true. Unless they go to the school plays or the school concerts.
Yeah, and the schools that do that still have band and drama like Brattleboro, like Leyland and Gray, and Bellows Falls to a lesser extent, but they're still trying to keep that going. It's you know anything the philosophy that coaches have and the other folks there is anything that keeps the kids interested in wanting to come to school each day is great. So if it's soccer, if it's drama, if it's the music classes, anything, if it just keeps them coming to school and learning, that's a good thing.
Hmm. Well, and I like what you said about watching a team come together because, yes, sports are a competition and we do care who wins and loses. But when you watch a game that's played well, it really is fun to watch. Beyond just the score, it's just fun to watch people do something well. It's like why you watch figure skating in the Olympics and they make it look so easy, and it's because they've worked so hard.
Yes,
But that's a joy to watch. You know what I mean?
yes, and that's the growth, the individual growth within the team is fun to watch. From the little leaguers in the summertime to the high school kids to the adults to keep it going. Like yesterday's turkey trot, they had 271 people running in that race in Brattleboro
Oh my gosh!
because it was a nice day.
Yeah,
For at least for late November, it was a nice day
in Vermont.
in Vermont. Or why there's no Thanksgiving football in Vermont, why they try to wrap up the football season before Armistice Day, because you never by Thanksgiving there could be a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. Everything starts becoming. Yeah, I'll see you on Tuesday, weather depending. Yeah,
Yes.
there's the weather depending ends up on the end of every sentence.
Hmm.
Yep. Well, thank you, Randy. And folks, if you want to check out what's happening in the sports, of course, you can grab your weekly commons. And Randy and I will be back on WVEW LP Brattleboro right after we hear from some underwriters. So stay tuned, folks. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the second half of the Montpelier Happy Hour here on WVEW LP Brattleboro. If you're just joining us, I'm your host and producer, Olga Peters, and I'm speaking with Randy Holhut, who is the news editor at The Commons. And we were talking about the state of newspapers and the growth of the Commons and the Deerfield Valley News before the break. And now we're going to transition to some local news and a very article I enjoyed very much written by Joyce Marcel in this week's paper about the state Democratic Party has held their elections and they elected their chair from Windham County, Lachlan Francis, who lives in Westminster. And tell us more, Randy. What's ahead for the Vermont Dems? Because my little gray friend Kitty here. What's ahead for the Dems? Because it has felt lately that the party isn't hasn't it has it's felt a little wobbly. I think a lot of observers have noted.
Well, more than a little wobbly, it's been wobbly for years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's and going all the way back to the Douglas years.
Hmm.
It's a party that seems to be intimidated by strong governors. When Jim Douglas was in office, they never ran a really good candidate against him. And with Phil Scott, you think of the people who've run against Scott, and we Joyce Joyce's kind of opinion of the Democratic Party is kind of colored by her experience covering the Christine Hallquist campaign
Oh,
uh,
right.
back in uh, back in 2018. And Christine was a good candidate, a smart candidate. She would have been a great governor.
Mm,
But it was, but the party was kind of about it, the whole thing, and didn't offer as much support. but a lot of the people that were on Christine's campaign have been filtered into the Democratic Party,
Hmm.
and Lachlan wasn't part of that. I mean, my first real introduction to Lachlan was seeing him at Becca's campaign party at the Brooks house the night she won state senator,
Hmm.
and my first real introduction to Becca as the slightly goofy school teacher that suddenly is going to the ledge. And if you said to me that night, oh, she's going to be your representative in Congress in another decade.
You would have
Yeah,
been like, what?
what? But Lachlan Francis happened to be standing there and happened to run her first campaign.
Hmm.
And you've known him even longer,
Yeah.
and he's kind of like Mike Pichek in terms of grown up with as a political person. I mean, you've heard the stories about his Mike Pichek's classmates been back in grade school saying, "Oh, he's going to be governor
Yeah.
someday or
Yep.
president."
So
And
true.
I don't know if Lachlan had ambitions of being governor or president, but he certainly loves it, and politics being uh, inherently messy.
Hmm.
It takes a brave person to want to run a party. I think of Will Rogers' famous quip that I don't belong to an organized political party. I'm a Democrat, and Democrats have a knack of doing things that of not being the most disciplined and organized political party.
Very, yes, that's a nice way of putting it. Yep. Well, and regular listeners may remember, ooh, it was either last summer or the summer before, Lachlan actually came on the happy hour and we had a conversation with him. And one thing that stood out for me from that conversation was he noted how uh, Vermonters, and we know this, that Vermonters really aren't necessarily hardcore party members.
Yeah,
But that I hadn't realized the level that folks in Vermont tend to really vote across the ticket.
and
You
that's
know,
and that's a good thing. I mean, there's
hmm.
no such thing as straight ticket voting, really. Well, it's not so much straight ticket voting in Vermont. I know at least in the last 25, 30 years that it's more Democrats have gotten elected to statewide office, and there's been a Democratic majority in the legislature. But that's not so much straight ticket voting as much as the Republicans having their act together in
Hmm.
terms of and their high water mark was to take back Vermont's uh, mess,
Oh yeah, right.
and
Jesus.
that gave them the control of the legislature, and a lot of Democrats lost their seats. And Mike Obohosky from Bellows Falls, who was the speaker, he was sacrificed his political career to support civil unions,
Hmm.
and he was vindicated, like we hope people who make principled stands ultimately are.
Hmm.
But I think that cost the Republicans a few votes coming up the line when we noticed that civil unions were passed and nothing changed,
Yeah.
and that we took the next step to full marriage, and nothing changed except maybe the wedding industry got more business.
Well, and we can't say nothing changed. The hope is that it improved life
Well,
for
well,
many other people.
that's what I meant by the nothing changed. Our that life went on, and people got a chance to acknowledge love in
Hmm.
in the way that grown-ups do.
Yes. Well, and receive the legal benefits
Yes,
that go with it,
and responsibilities
and
that come with
recognition.
the
Yeah.
marriage that come with the marriage license.
Hmm. And so your thought, just kind of looking at the political landscape right now, um, there's in some ways there has been a lot of upheaval in our political parties. Um, you know,
You
Again,
think,
regular
yes,
listeners have heard John Walter's concerns about shifts to the right in the Republican Party. Um, we've heard concerns about the Dems not being able to put forward a strong gubernatorial candidate. And then, of course, we often forget about the progressives, even though they are a recognized political party. Um, so, what's the landscape look like for you right now?
well, I mean, kind of the conventional wisdom is that Vermont is 40% Democrats, 40% Republicans, and 20% that are either independents, progressives, or unaffiliated,
Mm-hmm.
and that the elections are all won on that 20%.
Good point.
And that's we heard about the Jim Douglas Democrats who kept electing him governor,
Yeah.
and Phil Scott Democrats too, I guess you'd say. But
Mm-hmm.
I really wonder whether Phil Scott has it in him to run for a sixth term. I mean, even Howard Dean didn't run for six terms.
Yeah.
Uh, I I'm in a big Mike Pichek fan. He's a good man. He's a decent man. I've known him a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Joyce has known him for a long time too, and I think he's. But the question is, everyone in Vermont, everyone's so polite and they wait their turn.
Yes. Yes.
You don't see a candidate like a candidate who wants to jump the line and say, I'm enough about decorum. I'm going for it. I'm going to run for this seat.
Yeah.
And my personal feeling, and again, opinion of Holhut, not of the Commons, this is now or never for Mike Pichek, or for that matter, for the other Democrats that have been talked about, Charity Clark and Sarah Copeland Hanses.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the three big statewide candidates. But I think Mike certainly has, the organization in place, or coalescing around him.
Yep.
Got some has some good people working for him. He has name recognition. We remember those the chalk talks he gave during the pandemic.
Right.
He was the stat guy tracking the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to Phil Scott for trusting Dr. Levine and Mike Pichek to be the guys providing the good data that informed the public health choices that were made that allowed Vermont to have fewer people die compared to
That's
other
the
places.
important thing at the end of the
Other
day.
place, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what public health does, and that's what basing um, public health decisions on science does for you. You live longer.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. So and as for the lower the down ticket, there's recruiting candidates has always been difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But you see the Vermont Republican Party kind of coalescing into the MAGA party, and as we saw in the off year elections around the country, MAGA's not working anymore. People are
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to catch on that the the current administration really doesn't care an awful lot about them, and there's the meme on the internet, the leopards eating faces party.
Oh, jeez. I haven't seen that one. Missed that.
Well, Well, it's kind of a riff on one of those kind of Florida man type stories of, someone had a pet leopard, and one day the leopard decided to eat the guy's face,
Gotcha.
and the response, I never imagined that it would eat my face.
I think there's the old story of the frog and the snake or the
Well, this is
scorpion.
well, this is more of a Florida man version of it.
Yes.
But
Yep.
that I wanted all the scary brown people deported. I didn't know the people working in my barn were going to get deported.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanted him to go after all those icky queers, but I didn't know that would my groceries would go up 20%, or all
Surprise, surprise.
all this other stuff. You vote for this and you got that,
Yeah.
and it always happens.
Mm. Yeah.
And so next year's election, if you're a Democrat running for office and you can't win, you're probably a lousy candidate.
Okay.
Because the off year election was a referendum on Trump 2.0.
Right.
Next year's election is definitely going to be a referendum on Trump 2.0.
Yes.
And also in Vermont. And then I think the theory of, well, people are vote for the person, not the party, and if Phil Scott runs, well, a Democrat can't win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure about that, and that's why I think, if for the folks running for statewide office, and there'll be a domino effect when people, after the ledge lets out, that make decisions about running. This is the year. 2026 is the year to run. You're not going to ever have a better environment to run as a Democrat. Conversely, if you're a Republican, you got a lot of explaining to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
even in Vermont, where MAGA doesn't really have much of a foothold, the statewide party does is
Mm-hmm.
the chair that they reelected. He's Phil Dame. He's
Mm-hmm.
definitely 100%. And the stuff that's been coming out of the Republican Party's communications uh, team has been 100% MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
And even just looking locally, and just right this week with the shooting of the two Virginia National Guardsmen in Washington by allegedly Afghan national who worked for the Americans in Afghanistan
Mm-hmm.
and traveled all the way from the West Coast to Washington to do this. And now it's being used as a way to eliminate all immigration and have all the Afghans get reinvestigated. That they're trying to run that through.
Yeah.
Windham County's experience with Afghanis has been a lot different.
Yes.
I would argue that it was one of the best things that's happened to Brattleboro in the last decade or so,
Mm-hmm.
having that shot of energy, of creativity that they brought,
Yeah.
and and seeing how well, thanks to the community that supported them, they adapted to living here, and how much they've contributed,
Mm.
and
That's the
and
big part. How much has been contributed?
how much has been contributed,
Yeah. A lot.
and that the absolute insanity of throwing all that away,
Mm-hmm.
and not just for the Afghanis, but for all the other folks that Vermont has taken in as asylum seekers.
Yes.
This country does. We all came from somewhere else. Some of
Mm-hmm.
us willingly, some of us not willingly,
Yeah.
but we all came from somewhere else. We all our ancestors all played their role in building this country.
Yeah.
So,
And it's amazing how some people forget that.
yes, it is amazing how soon people forget that.
Hmm.
But that's a roundabout way of saying it's a it, it's going to be tough for Republicans in Vermont to get reelected, I think.
Okay. You heard it here, folks. The next round of elections, we'll have to sit and check.
But then I lost a bet with Nancy Browse that Christine Hallquist would beat Phil Scott.
Oh dear.
So, um, for entertainment purposes only, don't use this as a basis for any, any wagering.
Once again, the views and opinions on the Montpelier Happy Hour belong to the host and the guests and nobody else. Um, so let's quickly, where should we head next, Randy? Do you want to talk about BMH or BCTV?
Well, BCTV, hooray and congratulations on 50 years, and they're a big part of our landscape.
Yeah.
The work that's been done, especially was this past week's paper, the interview that Annie Landenberger did with Court Trowbridge.
Mm-hmm.
She was a big factor in the growth of BCTV over the last 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's for real. It's not a bunch of goofy people with cameras. They're doing great work in covering the community.
Yeah,
And
and provide, I mean, when we talk about community access and PEG stations, what's it? Public access, education, and government.
yeah,
I might have those initials not completely correct, but when you talk about access, BCTV, I think, has done a sterling job of increasing access, especially to local government.
and of course BCTV working with WVEW and doing more. Johnny Gifford, the current ED of BCTV, this big ties with WVEW,
Hmm.
and trying to get the cross pollination of shows between the two mediums, and also the working together to get state funding to do things like help harden the radio station and the television station for the next Irene.
Yeah, I think let's spend a minute on that because that was new to come out of their 50th celebration was that news that they are now BCTV is now a line item, or not just BCTV, public access stations are a line item in the state budget now.
That we saw during the flooding in northern Vermont in 2023 and 24, and some of the disasters in other places around the country, that the public broadcasters played a big role in providing information to people in emergencies. That was
Hmm.
in some cases the only source of information,
Yeah.
and it's kind of important.
It is. Well, I think about Irene, and of course, this was 2011, but my little battery powered radio was the only way I had any idea what was going on outside of my immediate friend circle because here was the funny thing about phones in during Irene in at least Whitingham. Um, the phone lines went down or the switch yard went down. Something went down where we could only call within the 368 exchange. And so we started up this little phone tree, friends and family of what have you heard? What have you heard? So it was that and my little battery powered radio. And that's how I found out what was happening.
And it used to be that our two local commercial radio stations, WTSA and WKVT, got
Mhm.
funding from the state for 24-hour operations because they were part of the emergency notification uh, system for Vermont Yankee.
Oh, right, right. Hmm.
And that's and I'd say both stations are kind of are missed that funding.
Hmm, probably, I bet. Yep. So yeah, very well done, BCTV, and here's to another 50 years
Yes,
of doing some great community service and providing a place for anyone to have a voice and a show. And I think not only is there the component of public safety involved, but there is that component of free speech
yes.
and being able to exercise that. So congratulations, BCTV. Um, in the last couple minutes, I think we should just touch on letting folks know if you haven't seen Kevin O'Connor's coverage of what's happening at BMH and some of the leadership changes that have been happening there in the budget, overseeing the budget. Highly recommend you check that out. Randy, anything quickly you want to add to that?
Well, we all kind of are watching the BMH situation with concern because besides being one of the largest employers in Brattleboro
Mm-hmm.
and Windham County, they are our primary healthcare providers, and in a county where the population is older
Mm-hmm.
and has more needs.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of someone who is older, getting older, and has more needs, um, it's nice to have them around,
Yeah.
and that the care there. I mean, people always like to grouse about the hospital and about the primary care offices that they run,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, we have access to decent health care, and there
Yeah.
are
And very
many
dedicated people.
and there are many rural parts of this country that don't are losing that access rapidly because if you think the BMH situation is bad right now, and just imagine what it would be like if you had to travel 100 miles for a
Mm.
medical appointment,
Mm-hmm.
or 150 miles, and that's what the folks also in red states that
Mm-hmm.
are facing because of changes in the healthcare system, of how healthcare is funded. And
Mm-hmm.
if you take and considering how many hospitals are dependent on Medicare and Medicaid for funding, and they've never gotten fully reimbursed the way they should for care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You take that away, and hospitals are really hosed financially, and
Yeah.
that's what BMH could be facing. And BMH is too big to be like Grace Cottage, which has the emergency designation for as a emergency care provider.
Yeah. Yeah. What is there? Is it a critical care
Yeah,
access?
critical care access hospital. And I know for say folks in the Deerfield Valley, they depend on Southwest Vermont Medical Center.
Over in
They're
Bennington.
they're doing better financially, uh, but they're vulnerable too, and all the
Mm-hmm.
rest of them. I mean, Vermont's unique in that all of our hospitals are nonprofit. Because if we were in a for-profit situation, we'd probably have even bigger problems.
Yes. Yep. Oh, but I think I need to correct something I said. You were saying Southwestern. Did you mean the hospital in Bennington or the
Yes,
clinic in Wilmington?
well, both,
Okay.
since they run the clinic in Wilmington.
Yeah. Yep.
But if you're somebody in Wilmington, they can go either direction for what their procedures.
Mm-hmm.
Go go west east to Brattleboro or west to Bennington.
Yeah. Well, one thing we should note too about a place like BMH, but not just BMH, we need to remember, I think, that because Southern Vermont borders, depending on which side, you're either New York, Massachusetts, or Massachusetts, New Hampshire, but because we are a border area, our labor shed is not like BMH is not just pulling people from Brattleboro.
Yeah, they're pulling
BMH is
people
pulling people from a
Keene, Keene and
tri-state
Green,
area.
Keene and Greenfield.
Yeah. And so that has different implications for the labor shed as a whole, for should the institution have really irreversible difficulties.
And it's not in the silo since, this all of our hospitals in the Connecticut Valley are dependent on Dartmouth Hitchcock
Yeah,
and the Dartmouth health system.
yeah. So something we definitely need to watch. And unfortunately, hey Randy, we're out of time.
That didn't take long, did it?
It did not take long. So, Randy, if people want to read more of the Commons or Deerfield Valley News, where should they go?
Well, I can speak for the Commons because that one always comes off the top of my head, commonsnews.org. um, I'm I'm being a bad team member, and I'm forgetting the web address for the Deerfield Valley News. Maybe you know it.
I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm going to look it up as I ask your next question.
Okay.
I kind of remember it, but I don't want to give people wrong.
Yes, I don't want to give people wrong information either.
So my next question is, if people want to donate to VIM,
Well, if you go to the website, you'll see that, and also in the print edition, there's also since we're running the ads for the annual appeal, you'll find the forms in there to fill out.
mhm.
And of course, if you've given before, you've probably gotten the appeal letter, and it's probably on the pile there with all the other folks who are looking for money this time of year.
It is that time of year.
It is that time of the year, and yes, our pile is growing of things we want to donate to, and this would be a good year to dig a little deeper for all the other folks who are looking for help too.
So,
And
listeners, if you want to check out the Deerfield Valley News, it is on sale around the Deerfield Valley at newsstands. But the website is Deerfield Valley News spelled out .org.
yeah, that's the new address, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's still behind the paywall, and
Yes.
they still charge for it at the newsstands.
Hmm.
So that's it's complicated.
That's a work in progress.
Yes.
Um, in the meantime, I also want to just thank BCTV for taking the video version of the Montpelier Happy Hour, sharing it with public access stations around the state. And just remind folks that the Montpelier Happy Hour is on WVEW LP Brattleboro every Friday at 2 p.m., rebroadcasted on Wednesday mornings. And have a great weekend, everyone. So glad you tuned in, and take care.